Yes.
Namda Zorim Sergi Saji Den Bamir Lingo Benze, Shiramye Denon e Chogunsar, Tumjon Rovelam Mashage Yulu, Shija Kalo Chirap Chingurje, Zebe Don Durjen Napo, Gervedon Bagunezan Zebe, Gajurum Bocha Saje, Serap Gundo, Sija Tanyela. Tamke Samu Shage Yongzong Shen, Chongchim Yinpe Lamkin Karmapa, Mishi Debe Jivu Zuge Du Lasso, Chu Singin, Nambazo, Kane Singi Yuan Yang, Tatoma Samba Shongchup Chodo, Tu Jene, Tambe Chu, Senro Nang.
Khenpo Rinpoche addresses all of you, the viewers, wherever you are, and he asks you to begin by generating the body mind.
Tene takachang tanda Ladub ge de chasang ma shu tsaraje. Tene ladub de ma song du yi chong nong de la ten dua. Tumung tu. Tumung chu tepan namba sum seje. Te kazan shu tsaraji. Ta tumung tu churbe chu songye te chente. Ta nintu tek patan tumung tu churbe ge lo de kante chila segi yorisi na. Yin yidang jeba pongbe lo songwa re. Yin la nepa ngus jalwa tang. Nepa jalwe go sambe samba tamche panggovati ta nidhe tekbege samna tang tang re la tegana shinge tegwa shimbu di samna de ngebar tong godko gogyo.
In the previous session, the explanations regarding the title of the text, the meaning and perspectives of the words that make up the title were explained. That is in the Tibetan text, followed by introductory instructions, where, as was also explained in the previous session, 3 kinds of trust and confidence are necessary in order to have a firm foundation for practicing the path to enlightenment. Next, in the introductory instructions, there is the mention of a specific mindset that practitioners of both Theravada Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism are to cultivate. So that mindset is taught in both Theravada Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism. It's common to both those divisions of Buddhism. And to begin with, there is the instruction of fostering or cultivating a mindset which gives up any ill intent any intention to harm or affect others negatively. Of course, that would also include giving up such actions, actions by way of which harm is done to others.
Tene Tathebachimbo Donga Lamjinyamne Karin Anguyana Yang Tene Ta Yin Yidan Jepa Pung Bitinla Yimpen Yidan Jepara Dupe Sambe Sisambache Nebaratu Goguyabate.
Next, there is yet another introductory instruction, which primarily concerns Mahayana Buddhism, which is an instruction primarily taught in Mahayana Buddhism, whether it's a matter of the Buddhist Sutrayana or the Buddhist Tantrayana. Both these divisions in Mahayana Buddhism teach that in addition to the previous mindset that was just explained in brief, that concerns both Theravada Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism equally, there is the instruction of fostering a mindset which focuses on accomplishing the welfare of all sentient beings.
Teyinde nangpa sanje pege goru shukpaji sanne songte perna tambe chögung ote tsewa yongsu pungwa tang ninji chim damchö jing ote tsewa yongsu pungwa jik tang ninji chimbyu go ne yinpenge shawar dubju yinbaji nana pe tanda do masong na kanla kansam dude yod
Ninji la tenne kjempingi chawar.
Ja. De ninji la tenne shung dun de ninji de ninji chimbol shubre pe na randun yiji ge chwa mebe ninji chila. Tanda nge michi la pin da wo chita kö jema ngal pin ji chu ta ge sang som ji na de randun de chwa cha cha song. Den de ge lo zan mebe chi.
So, having entered the Buddhist doctrine, the path to enlightenment, one should know that the Buddha Dharma, the sacred Buddha Dharma, in terms of what it embodies essentially, or what it is about fundamentally, there are two perspectives, so-called non-violence, which is about what was said with respect to the first of the two introductory instructions, that of cultivating a mindset where there are no intentions to harm, ill intent, as it were, is given up, which then makes for non-violence. Then there is the second of the two introductory instructions, which, as was said, is about accomplishing the welfare of others. And that happens on the basis of so-called great compassion. Great in that it's about selfless compassion. In terms of benefiting one or many individuals, if there is the taint of selfish or of selfish motives, then that act which is done in order to help someone is not based in so-called great compassion. There may be a measure of compassion still, but not great compassion. There may be, in the mind of the person who acts in order to help others, hopes of reward, recognition, and so on, which is synonymous with self-interest. There is a selfish motives in terms of the good action done. Therefore, that good action, it is explained in the Buddha's doctrine, cannot be categorized as great compassion. Great compassion is to be selfless. Or great compassion is to be enacted in a selfless manner, rather. Next in the text, there is the refuge prayer and the generating of the body mind, and these two aspects of the practice will be explained during today's session.
잠주 담바 줄레여 남바 산제베 초gur 슉 살바지 옛내 송대 때나 잠주 지 랍제 갑라 데네 뒤던 내급 군두 데네 군초섬 이라 샤와 송버제 디인도 군초섬 이라 샤와 생겐데 지 셔베야 임백갑이나라 니종 레가 샤와 가르난 게 연나엔라 공다 냐르갑이나라 군초섬데 양네 양도 투르 코르투바지 고게요레 벤나 강알 직tra 간제 종나 양 군초섬라 잡세 투바지 나저 땡땡 고기어레 디체도 대군초섬 생겐데게 연된 가리 바테 예수 tinhete 개청부차
캬 토페체도 된시 고고게
야
Now the Buddhist path begins by taking refuge in the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Now, general instructions regarding this are that the practitioner at all times and in all situations recollect the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, the three objects of refuge, as it were. And in general, that would mean the following. One recollects the three objects of refuge as one wakes up in the morning. One recollects these objects of refuge during the day and at the end of the day. Whatever one's difficulties, one's fears, whatever the circumstances, in order to, as it were, obtain protection from what is unwanted, one needs to recollect the objects of refuge.
Penang ranso jamdu damba yebe kap yin da tudon nekap kundu kuncho sum yi la mindarwa train to ba chegi insan damche cha yore damchawate laling tu kel tu bate pe kechambure laling tu kel nang.
Now, in terms of taking refuge in the three jewels, there, in connection with this, are a number of commitments or vows that the person who takes refuge commits to. And one of them is to, at all times and in all situations, recollect the three jewels. Therefore, as one has made this commitment, it's important to put that commitment into practice.
Tan namsha jundu ngaran so dambasung nayentra kharche nayentra jamrola chigni do semchela chigni cheba hindu tab debu chi yore de jirtan doi nang tu song bare chu chikje chene dig nang kente joje palden atishe dig nang ware sen songsul du ngarang kngös ne loju na karsa jowe namtan rawo tinde chinen ye ma song te songsul du namachu de yindu di ma tongbo digene kamishugi.
Now the refuge prayer is made up of 4 lines. The 2 first of the 4 lines are about taking refuge in the 3 jewels. The remaining 2 lines are about generating the so-called Bodhi mind. Now, whatever type of meditation practice one does, at the beginning one finds the refuge prayer. These 4 lines have apparently been put together by the well-known Indian Buddhist master Atisha, and to begin with, these 4 lines were spoken by the historic Buddha of our time, Buddha Shakyamuni himself. So Atisha has simply collected the 4 lines together, as it were, put them together in the shape and form of the refuge prayer. This is how these 4 lines, their origin, the so-called refuge prayer, is explained by Buddhist masters in terms of the origin of the prayer. Khenpo Rinpoche says that he has read various biographies that record the deeds of Atisha throughout his life. He has, though, not found any mentioning of this. Even so, that's how Buddhist masters have explained or pointed to the origin of the so-called refuge prayer.
Lama ting yong chin so gen de atishe song re es chene ka na song ta yin ge re sam gu.
Khenpo Rinpoche thinks that the explanation of the origin, this explanation of the origin of the refuge prayer is accurate. This is how the Buddhist masters he has studied with, that's what they have explained to him, and he believes this to be accurate.
다 디치니 더 가르레스나 상제 최동 소제 초남라 상축 바르도 다네 잡수치 생기더래.
And the two first lines are as follows. I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and in the noble Sangha till I've attained the state of Bodhi, or the state of awakening or enlightenment, however one wants to phrase it.
다 디인도 직당부때 상계 송도야. 상계세 다시에도 마송나 가르송 되어서나 마릭베 니데 레세 셰자 탐제라 로트 예베차네 상계 제브레.
So the first object of refuge is the Buddha, or Buddha, the enlightened state, however one wants to phrase that. And the implications of the Tibetan translation of the Sanskrit word Buddha, Sangye, in Tibetan, is a reference to the individual who has awakened from the sleep of ignorance, and who, in consequence of having awakened from the sleep of ignorance, has achieved the level of knowledge where all phenomena and their true nature are known.
대인도 상계 생겨데 시루도여 되베 plan라고 딘데지 말에 고랑게 연된 가리임 바 디찬 송비요 그래.
So actually, in terms of the Buddha, or Buddha the enlightened state, as an object of refuge, one takes refuge in the qualities of that state, Buddha the enlightened state. So it's not a matter of seeing the historic Buddha of our time or any other Buddha as some sort of God existing in the outside world, and as an individual or entity who affords one protection. It's rather about taking refuge in the enlightening qualities of the enlightened mindset.
대인도 나란서 상계 예수 첨바 세드 다 상계의 연된된서 예수 쳤네 되네 코르바동 인송 동에 강간에 잡투바지 삼내 나로 코르고고요.
Now, in terms of recollecting the Buddha, or Buddha the enlightened state, the Buddha evidently embodies the enlightened state, so there isn't a difference between the two. It's what was said was simply said in order to point out that as a Buddhist, one doesn't focus on the person, rather the enlightened state the individual has attained. And it is by way of focusing on those qualities that protection from falling into worldly states, in particular lower states, this is the reason for recollecting those qualities in order to be protected from, as it were, falling into worldly states of any kind.
Tende sonde ta sanje ji kuncho ge tang chö kuncho gendon kuncho ge ngo senendra di yuen ti kor jamden dege dode nangla 하장 야chen bosong shabre.
Now, as is recorded in a large number of Buddhist sutras, a sutra being a lecture that Buddha Shakyamuni himself gave at one point, and these lectures have been recorded. And in many of these lectures, Buddha Shakyamuni, that is, has set forth the principal qualities of the three objects of refuge, referred to as the rare and supreme ones.
Ta yin yang ben jamden dege gutse tella song jabe chöte sho dona kolosum gnan dogiyore.
Now, Buddha Shakyamuni was a prolific speaker, as it were, and all his lectures have been divided into three categories known as the three turnings of the wheel of the Buddha Dharma.
Ta de yin tu ben kolo tangbu kabla zo che xue zhao de yin tu chi dur je ngola zo zhao song sha ba jire.
And in terms of the first of these three categories, the main perspective is that of the teachings today known as Theravada Buddhism. Now, Buddha Shakyamuni, in his great compassion and his enlightened knowledge, knew that people have different dispositions, aspirations, temperaments, and so on. He therefore set forth different types of teaching in order to accommodate for the fact that those interested in the Buddhist path would need instructions that they would be able to practice. And the first of these three categories, called the three turnings of the wheel of the Dharma, are for those of a disposition that accords with these teachings known as Theravada Buddhism.
Zo che song guan do re ma do kolo tongbu kab yang te ching do ja yue de yore de.
Now, one shouldn't then draw the conclusion that in terms of these three categories and the various people who at the time practiced the teachings of them, that there was sort of a strict adherence to following just one of these categories. In terms of the first turning of the wheel of the Dharma, as to the various members of the audiences the Buddha had, there were also many who followed Mahayana Buddhism. So it's not as if there is some sort of rule, as it were, that if one is the Theravada Buddhist type of practitioner, one shouldn't attend or study lectures that have to do with Mahayana Buddhism and vice versa. And many practitioners, both at the time of Buddha and thereafter, practice both.
알았어. 되네. 다 콜로 바르바던 타만인데 이게 늘자도 쪼고 대고 침별이 이제 라송마지래.
Then there is the second and third of these two categories, and their teachings. And the teachings are primarily for those of the Mahayana Buddhist persuasion.
티인트 드링에 마 곤초 숨게 오슈네라 곤초 숨게 유엔덴세나인라 생이세나인라 티제테 콜로 탐에게 돈들 개체슈 노인들 바 개체슈 유라메 공바 예레 잔마카메 슈기니.
Now, in terms of Khenpo Rinpoche today explaining about the various qualities regarding the three objects of refuge, what their qualities are essentially or fundamentally, their characteristics as it were, he will base his explanations on a commentary to sutras of the third category. And the commentary, its name in Tibetan is Gulama, and in Sanskrit, the Uttara Tantra Shastra.
티인트 디나라 pen sanjela 다 초규연된세나인라 초그랑 경우에 찬이 셴나 연된 숨도 제발 얘기 초그랑 경우에야 될라 예완 넘버 숨.
So we'll begin with the explanations of the qualities of the first object of refuge, Buddha, the enlightened state. And here there are two perspectives. The first of the two perspectives is that of the qualities of enlightenment itself, the so-called Dharmakaya. And here one finds three principal qualities.
연된 당보대 초그때 뉴마셰브랑 인레샤 세버세.
The first of the three principal qualities as to Buddha, the enlightened state, is that this state isn't the outcome of causes and conditions other than itself. So that state is therefore not conditioned by circumstances, conditions, however one wants to phrase it, other than itself.
다 대송용도 가르송 알았으나 네 독쇼는 써마지 땅고래. 뉴제 생겼더라.
So in order to understand this, one needs to think of the opposite, namely phenomena that are conditioned, that are the outcome of the workings of the coming together of a number of causes and conditions.
뉴제 생겼대 당고째 바르드네 타른가테 메탁베랑진레 메탁베랑진테 둥알치랑진레 대인도 상제게 둥알 타다 봉선바레 뉴마체 세용데
Now
올란 뉴마체 매 칸사이 둥알테 매바레
a conditioned phenomenon is a phenomenon which arises at a specific point in time. It comes into existence in consequence of the workings of the causes and the conditions that gave birth to it, as it were. It then has a lifespan. It remains for a period of time, and at the end of its lifespan, that phenomenon ceases to exist. Conclusion, the phenomenon in question is impermanent. It's of an impermanent nature. As it is of an impermanent nature, it quite naturally causes suffering for those who have a connection with it in one way or the other, in that at the end of its lifespan it ceases to exist, and those connected with it no longer have that connection, and that would evidently cause a sense of loss, which translates into suffering. Now, as was said, the first of the three principal qualities of Buddha, the enlightened state, is that it's not conditioned. Therefore, this state is beyond suffering. It's neither tainted by suffering, nor does it cause suffering.
뉴마체파스 연땡게 찬이 빠들라 런지 투파 생겼더래.
Then there is the second of the three qualities, which is that Buddha, the enlightened state, is spontaneously present.
런지 투파 송용테.
It is a natural presence.
런지 투파 송데 따텔라 데네 레당 년 발라서 베티메 산 마게바 연텐 상마 고랑라 랑체기 초도 여바지라 고고요 그래.
Det kikar ner som den drangva sekumari.
야야 베나이 레당 여무 생긴데 젠가 내섬로와.
Ja.
대당 잘 왔대. 디 연텐데 가르요 알으스나 딱 베나
Lenyon mere.
랭년 메레.
Kikar ner som den.
잘 왔대. 랭년 메레. 데니 연텐게 차나 땀 먹고 싶으시에 그래.
The words natural presence or spontaneously present refers to that which isn't born of causes and conditions other than it, and therefore doesn't have a limited lifespan, and therefore does not come to an end. In consequence of which, this state isn't tainted by afflictive, obscuring states and their actions. The Lenyon tang miku tu tene.
Lenyon ki magyo tu trimatang chalwa songarwa.
Thus, Buddha, the enlightened state, is a pure state, in that the taint of afflictions and obscurations, as well as actions based in afflictions and obscurations, are not at hand.
다 yuandingi cha sombate, tendrek netangte, sangje ki kandesin tobarasana, yingi jing la zan doyo mare chebar. Rani ki nyambar jakwa la tenne, nyamja de jegam to sonne, tar di ngor cha songare chebar.
Then there is the third of the three principal qualities, which is that Buddha, the enlightened state, the Dharmakaya, does not depend upon, isn't produced by causes and conditions other than itself, which means that it can be realized by any practitioner. It's on the basis of the practitioner's own efforts in terms of fostering a mindset of equipoise, a balanced state, as it were, balanced in that the state cultivated isn't tainted by afflictions and obscurations and their actions. In consequence of those efforts, as the Dharmakaya is a natural presence, or as it is spontaneously present, it can be realized by the individual's efforts.
대체 다 텐데게 초구 연텐 초구랑기 연텐 somebody 담바 마세 누리자 잉기체도 되네 연텐 좀 용거요래.
So there is Buddha, the enlightened state, and its three principal qualities as they were just explained. And the three qualities that were just explained are about the state itself. Then there is a second perspective, that of the actions of that state. And the actions of that state quite naturally happen for the sake of benefiting all sentient beings. So these actions take the focus, as it were, figuratively speaking, of benefiting beings, guiding beings on the path to enlightenment. And here there are yet again three qualities.
다들라 펜나 다두자 인능 들라 잉긴 나와라 닭벤 나와 찍다 달라 마다벤 나와 찍 요여데바 인투 닭벤 나와라 샤르 용어들라 대진시 발롱주 조구 세게 깨졌 정부터.
Now, in terms of those who are to be trained and guided on the path to enlightenment, you have two main categories. practitioners who have already developed to a great extent and who therefore have achieved what is called pure vision. For the sake of guiding them, Buddha the enlightened state manifests in various so-called Sambhogakaya forms. Then there is those, or there are those, who have not yet attained a high level of development on the path. Therefore, their vision, as it were, in terms of how reality is known, there one finds a measure of purity, but also a great deal of impurity. And for the sake of guiding this type of individual, Buddha the enlightened state manifests as so-called nirmanakaya forms.
나소 대체 용도 다 연된 성부터 천파 세와 뉴바솜 송하리 진센 뉴섬.
And the three qualities here, in terms of the actions aimed to benefit others, are knowledge, and that of course concerns enlightened knowledge, as well as compassion and capacity.
다디 당보 천파 성견대 강도시에베 추구랑기연 된 선보대 타르심바 직바달라 제타와 쳔바 송어레 되네.
Now, in terms of knowledge of this level, the level of Buddha, the enlightened state, the three qualities listed earlier are at hand, and in terms of the first of the set of three qualities explained now, knowledge, compassion, and capacity, here knowledge has two perspectives.
진이 바pen나 durja yinge kam wangbo sambal아서 착성을 쳔바데 다 쳔베 유엔된 송어데 니갑 쳔바데 되래 오데 자성 친요 말와 겐들 갑데
메다 탄다 지타 지니
니가데 레데
다 당부 지타바데 송마송
제타와데 휴규 다인 공도셰베
야
던자 선보데 착성을 쳔바.
So knowledge here translates to having fully achieved the three qualities that were listed with regard to Buddha the enlightened state itself. So knowledge at this level is made up of those three qualities, as it were. Jöntun den så som du mache pala sopa.
Ja.
Gingovore som gör vi. Det kämpar det.
Ja, kontus 좀 간극 지진도 챙겨 알아와. 못.
One could also phrase that differently. One could say it's about knowledge of this level being knowledge which to the fullest extent knows those three qualities.
Tene tat sewe.
Tene ore kamdang umpula sopari chi
진이 침바르와 감동 옹벌
shumarwa.
단단 내 휴고게 차성 시기여와 메네 쇼좀 시기여와.
There is also knowledge to the fullest extent of the dispositions of those who are to be trained. So, knowledge of Buddha, the enlightened state, knows the various dispositions, the various capacities, the various temperaments, and so on, of those who are to be trained, and therefore the enlightened individual, or the manifestation of Buddha, the enlightened state, whether a Sambhogakaya form or a Nimanakaya form, would appropriately guide each and everyone on the path.
Tene chenbache, tene tsewa sungmade. Tsewa sungkente, sanje khorange, 제대로 또배 되는데 제대로 시에 되는데 누리자 인라 쇼당 내리기 이해와매봐 답변나 대신시에네 로아르tuk 대신시에 버와 텐델에 이해와요 말에 아 쇼세베까블라 다 배나 롱바카카 당 미리카카 당 테네 포모기 예와라서 버텐데 양매버세 너나 샘진 탐제게 대직 또 틈나 공백에 두 세와 침베 마게 불라제와 따르 나वे나 제와 편숨 촉바 제버 디제와 텔라 벤 탐메버지 당 텔라 레와메버지
Then there is the second of this set of three qualities, that of compassion or love for others. Now, Buddha, the enlightened state, in its various manifestations, which are about actions of Buddha, the enlightened state, taking place in order to benefit others, are, as it were, governed by boundless compassion, boundless loving kindness for others. This means that the enlightened individual would not have thoughts, for example, of discrimination with respect to those who are to be trained and guided. There would be no preferences for a specific group of sentient beings. Now, Buddhism explains that a so-called impure world system is made up of 6 basic types of existence. And the individuals inhabiting these 6 existences are quite different from one another in terms of their temperament, their mindset, and the like. Now, Buddha the Enlightened State, in its boundless compassion, benefits all equally. As was said, there are no preferences for one group or the other. If one, for example, takes the example of the world of human beings, throughout the world of human beings as we know it, there are different races, there are different divisions such as male, female, and so on. Human beings divide themselves into an endless number of categories and groups. Now, for the enlightened mindset, these different groups, categories, and so on do not have an impact, as it were. The enlightened mindset acts to benefit all equally. Hence, no preferences, not making distinctions such as people of this continent are of a higher class, and so on. Thus, the kind of compassion we're looking at is so-called boundless compassion, in that it does not make those distinctions. The compassion of this state knows no borders or limitations, as it were.
다트네 제와 송도 제와 세디 텐데기 삼바디 유에바 삼도 마세 디고네 데네 셈진 라랑 게 카몬 삼바당 템베 상제게 샤와테 셈진라 페인데 따능 투기여 버레.
Then there is the third in this set of 3 qualities, which is about capacity, the capacity of Buddha, the enlightened state. Which has to do with what was explained in brief earlier, namely the ability to know the various dispositions of various individuals, and therefore being able to guide them appropriately so that they can truly make progress.
Tai yuntin tinrawata dembe konsate ngaranso tene konsate jarna tamba shakje tubarla yuntin tenzo ganga din yor donna yuntin jesenanda trugsenanda te chasang dembare.
If one were to give an example of someone who embodies those qualities, we could take the example of the historic Buddha of our era, Buddha Shakyamuni.
Tate ngaranso sangje yi la yangne yang du che gore songde yuanten denzo yi la yangne yang du chen chen samna tang nang da de sangje singke de la rang de one tane yi che de ten chu ba che yong gore yuandin tenzo la tangwa jegre, yuandin tenzo tomdo ge loyang jegre, then tepa de shuk cheru rogre.
So in terms of recollecting the Buddha or recollecting Buddha the enlightened state, it's a matter of recollecting the qualities that have been explained in brief. Now, in terms of traditional categorizations, there is the mention of 6 qualities or 8 qualities. 6 were listed, but then you have the 2 perspectives of Buddha the enlightened state, and these 2 perspectives are in some categorizations also listed as qualities, and that would then add up to 8 qualities. However, the main point made is that the instruction is to frequently recollect the Buddha or Buddha the enlightened state. Now, how does one do this? Well, one does that by way of recollecting those qualities. The qualities that Buddha the enlightened state is made up of, as it were. And that would, of course, imply recollecting an individual who has attained those qualities to their fullest extent. For example, Buddha Shakyamuni. By way of doing this, one's trust and confidence, both in the enlightened state and the Buddha, will grow more and more stable, and one's inspiration as to an enlightened individual or the enlightened state itself will also grow more and more stable, so that one truly comes to foster or cultivate that aim, the aim of attaining that state, desire for attaining that state.
Sanje kuncho che sanje chö thang se kam la chö te chö kuncho te den yong bi pse.
Then there is the second object of refuge, the Buddha Dharma.
Chö kuncho sanken de la yang gogden tang lamden se ni song bi yobre.
And here you have again 2 perspectives, the truth called cessation and the truth called the path.
Gogden thatu te sanje ji kompong re yin yang lam ji kap gogden te lam te la lam ne devti gelle batala lam le dev rambachin to song sha bare dev rambachin to le bon de gogden re yu le je gi bate.
Dadi nyen rang gi gopa chikpo ma yingpa.
Chikpo ma yingpa.
Pena sa chu la so pa
ya thongnam thob ka lo thongnam gokpa le de garwa yarani la yan de gokpa re yu de barwa.
Now, in terms of the first of these 2, cessation, you have various levels. You have the goal in Theravada Buddhism, that of so-called arhathood, which is a level of enlightenment beyond the world, evidently. However, it is, according to Mahayana Buddhism, a lower level of enlightenment, in that it's not enlightenment to its fullest extent. It is not Buddha the enlightened state that's at hand. Then you have the 10 different levels, the 10 so-called bhumis of bodhisattvas who have achieved various levels of realization that are beyond the world. And each of these levels is a level of cessation. Something in specific has ceased in effect of the efforts of the practitioner, and therefore the practitioner in question has attained yet a higher level of enlightenment. So these 10 levels are also various levels of enlightenment. However, the ultimate goal, as it were, is that of Buddha, the enlightened state, the highest level of enlightenment.
Perna Godin Tokpe Nanjurpa Tokpachi Yorwa.
Golden Karina.
Godin Karina. Te Tokpati Naranso Dadam Tanyeg Sam Tugravesana, Sam Tugumare, Yonten Tangbut Terry, so Sami.
So we have various levels of the truth called cessation, as was just explained. Now, there are, again, to begin with, 3 qualities with respect to this perspective of the Buddha Dharma, which is that cessation is beyond thought. What does this mean? It simply means that the cessation of any level is beyond the grasp of the intellect which operates via a combination of language and thoughts and ideas. So there isn't any of the various levels of cessation which can be understood by way of the intellect, by way of thought processes.
Perna Nintuchin Gokpa, Top Konsag Tori Tiyanandra, Tekbachimbo Sat, Tumburtobe, Nanjobe Torite, Koran Rang to Moma in Cheshure Mato. So
whether one looks at the level of cessation of the Sravaka path or of Theravada Buddhism, or the first of the 10 levels of cessation with respect to those 10 levels in Mahayana Buddhism, what that level or what either of these 2 levels of cessation are is only understood by the individual, or is only known by the individual who has attained that level of cessation. It is beyond the capacity of a person who has not yet attained any of these levels to fully know, or to know to the fullest extent what these levels of cessation are.
Penawana ta ngunji jebu tambaso sanje na majab chu song deva the karresana short temperature short zamch.
One may then wonder what the instruction of all past Buddhas are about then, because the instructions given by them recorded in various Buddhist scriptures, for example, are about instructions and explanations based in the workings of language, notions, and ideas. Well, all of that is given for the sake of individuals like ourselves, who do not have a capacity beyond the intellect, a capacity which at least permits us to intellectually understand what those states are about. So the words in the various scriptures that give instructions, explanations, and the like, or that are about instructions, explanations, and the like, were given for the sake of people like ourselves being able to at least have an idea of what those states may or may not be.
Then there
is the second of the three qualities in this set of three, which the name of this quality is simply beyond the two.
Beyond the two, that two the career is not layang mari, nyomoyong mari songare.
So what are the two? Well, the subject matter is that of cessation, various levels of it, and all the various levels of it are beyond the two, that is to say, afflictive, obscuring states and their actions. So all of these various levels of enlightenment are free of afflictive, obscuring states and their actions.
Lasso, tene, yuandenge cha sambate, ten rawate, surjin, kango, sami, nime, tongme, songare, tongmes, tongme, songgoyate, surjin, maimpe, yige, namyang, tongjamare, songare, ko. That surjin maimpa, singete, da, nga, singete, surjin maimpe, yijerawa. The
third of these three qualities is that these levels of cessation or enlightenment, all of them are beyond mental constructs, the mental constructs of so-called object-oriented knowledge, which here is about knowledge which does not accord with the way things truly are. What would be examples of this? Examples would be the notion of an individual self, which results in the notions of I and mine, etc. So these various levels of cessation or enlightenment are beyond ideas, notions, and the like, ideas and notions which fail to see the true nature of things.
Lasso, then
we have the second perspective here, the truth called the path, and again it's about a set of three qualities.
다 람딩기 연된 섬대 벤나 다 제당 남바 산제베 람악 남자제 남기여 버세.
Now, in terms of the Buddhist path, or the path to enlightenment, there are 5 levels of it, and each of these 5 levels is a path.
티년데 텐데게 람덴테게 연된 당보때 닭바 송어데 닭바 송데 람게 람바 카바여나 양 랑랑게 뽕제 드메 마게 비차네 닭바 송어데 람근고트
So rangrangi pongcha
야
gi magopa.
마게 벤나 통남라고
Movo takpai.
야 닭바임바
So the first of the 3 qualities here, in terms of the path, or the 5 paths, or the 5 levels of the path, however one wants to phrase it, is that of purity. How is purity to be understood here? Well, if we look at each of the 5 levels of the path to enlightenment, each of them has the specific perspective of eradicating specific worldly states. So the practitioner works with methods by way of which he can rid himself of what is to be given up. Now, the path itself, or the method itself, is not tainted by what is to be given up, whether it's a specific affliction or anything else. The path itself, the method itself, is pure as to its fundamental nature. So the path itself isn't touched by, as it were, isn't influenced by, affected by, however one wants to phrase it, what is to be given up. Hence the first quality, purity, or pure.
다대양 벤나 람 tö밍게 람바견도 랑랑경고 깔지 저마다 다로 그러와 오야 되네 닭바 살와 세데 세제기 출라 벤나 제따와 침바당 진예베 침바데 침바니라 되네 살루 로투고요 람 클럽인데.
Then there is the second of the 3 qualities here, which is that the path is clear, or it has the quality of clarity, however one wants to phrase it, a reference to
벤나 다 람들 람은 그러와 제따와 침바때 녜로데 똥니라 제감 로드 살루직 로근도와 데네 진예 받침바때 연기추 탐제야 시행 그러와.
It's a matter of the practitioner, or the perspective of the practitioner who practices the path in question, being able, by way of using the methods of the path, to develop his knowledge of emptiness to a higher and higher level, as well as knowledge of the true nature of all phenomena, developing or cultivating that knowledge so that higher and higher levels of it are achieved. Now, the adjective clear here, in order to make that clear, is a reference to the mindset which sees what is in fact the case, free from obscurity, ambiguity, and the like. So, as the practitioner develops by way of practicing the various methods he does practice, what happens is that the state of his knowledge, here one finds a gradual development in terms of its clarity. Now, in terms of the quality clear, with reference to the path itself, it's about that the path itself is clear to the fullest extent. It is of the pure nature described in terms of the first of these three qualities. So, with respect to the path itself, there is no gradual development. The quality is at hand from the beginning to the fullest extent. The gradual development happens in the context of practitioners of the path.
라서 대체 되네 다르슈. 야, 다 되네 유엔된 선바데 년보 송마데 년보 송데 람 라랑기 고깔도 저베 년몽바 년보는 로베나 년보 송마데.
Then there is the third of the three qualities in this set of three, which is that the path acts as an antidote. It remedies various afflictions and obscurations of the various levels as to the practitioner developing and achieving higher and higher levels.
대인데 다치 군초 생겼대 뻔나 산제 군초대 간수 잡네 탈뚝바들에 간수 톱장 맛.
Now the first object of refuge, the Buddha or Buddha the enlightened state, is the ultimate goal for a practitioner. That is to say, the attaining of that state with all its qualities.
대내 교육군초 생긴데 간수 다 산제 톱버시 발라 교육군초 때 람진냠ning 의지들에 간수 때 람냠ning 책고기.
In order to attain Buddha the enlightened state, we need the second object of refuge, that of the Buddha Dharma.
대내 다 겐둥군초 때 드린 슈트사 말에 내 자기 옛날 양 뻔나 산제지 유엔된 예수 점바당 최지 유엔된 예수 점바들라 개회자와 빡도메 바여버려라 뻔나 양내 양도 된거 윤생 태양 가르레스나 나란소 다 미시기나 진짜 최셔대 체가래 양양 단단에 감내 찍 trendebayina sanyin jitra tendrawachi rangju de lebdu kunchosum yila kortu bure kortumne chibe jitra teyang shetu bure la 대간은 신게 확된도 최기 연된데 전바이나 다첸들 최도 전냠내 제용킨지나 갑대도 땡땡 연된데 전바이나 제가는 뭐시 동근 차그리 샘진내루다 통남 배나 최근초대 예스든 딱고 단대슈 대원데서 뭐시 연구로 와 Pena
Ngoshe de du karsum biorgo.
Nyenbo sede Nyenbo de Shena Jikta de Pongyong Groa. Jikta said can't in the Limdosana, Yamont on Namtor than Lebroa.
Also, now, today there won't be time enough to go through the qualities of the third object of refuge. So that will be done in the next session. Now, it was said at the outset that it's important to, at all times and in all situations, recollect the qualities of the three jewels, the three objects of refuge. To do so, or by way of doing that, the practitioner accumulates merit which permits him to make progress on the path to enlightenment. There was also the instruction of doing this frequently. The practice of recollecting the qualities of the three jewels. One may wonder why it's so important to do this frequently. Well, think about the following. What is the greatest fear of any sentient being? Well, the greatest fear of any sentient being is presumably death, to have to face death. Now, if at that point, at the time of facing death, if one at that point is able to recollect the three jewels and their qualities, that will remedy the fear and panic otherwise experienced. And if one is a person who at least have practiced the path a bit during one's lifetime, then there is the possibility of, in consequence of recollecting the three jewels and their qualities, there is the possibility of being able to pacify afflictive, obscuring states and thoughts in their context. And the fear of death is such a thought or state. It's a state which inspires fear and panic in the mind of the person who is in the grip of this fear, the fear of death. So one can be greatly benefited at that time because of having cultivated the habit of recollecting those qualities, of recollecting the three jewels frequently during one's lifetime.
Tene chewe worur tuyang lusim ni kakar chal samjire mato ne sem singente she mevre ti chög tan je tin shendo pardor chimbayina te ronsem ngo shene tatla torsa chi yung yo gogden ju le je ne kap chi yung yo.
Now, after death, what happens is that the mind leaves the physical body. In fact, the mind doesn't die. It's the physical body that dies. The mind continues into a new phase, the phase between death and a new rebirth. Now, in the case of a Buddhist practitioner who is in the habit of recollecting the three jewels and their qualities, in this phase, by way of doing so, there is the possibility of his habit, depending on the level of the development of it, but there is the possibility that the habit of recollecting the three jewels and their qualities is so strong that, in effect, afflictive obscuring states, or the mindset of afflictive obscuring states, is put to rest, and the individual is therefore at this point able to attain one of the many levels of cessation or enlightenment that were explained earlier.
제원된 체럽 탐제도 뒤섬 여러 군제 전에 Karmapa Tado Jezone Shanchu Jecho Yunje Brasho, Sonamdeye, Tamje Zegban, Tamnanyebe, Ranam Pamje, Yaganaje, Balap Trubai, Sigbe, Solendro, Dolwar Show.